Today is Pearl Harbor Remembrance Day. Over 2,400 Americans died. Did you know that? Asymptomatic spread is not a significant source of this Chinese/Commie Virus pandemic. Not to be confused with pre-symptomatic carriers. And Democrat commies want to force everyone to wear a mask. It's ridiculous. This is the end of Hour 1 of the Jesse Lee Peterson Show, Monday, December 7th, 2020. Stay tuned for Hour 2. Jesse Lee Peterson will be right back. But first, Hake news, not fake news. Pearl Harbor was 79 years ago, Sunday, December 7th, 1941, before 8 a.m. Hawaiian time was the attack on Pearl Harbor, according to Wikipedia. Very reliable source, right? A surprise military strike on America by 353 Imperial Japanese aircraft came in two waves, launched from aircraft carriers. Contrary to what I thought, they were not kamikaze planes crashing into our stuff, suicide flyers. They were bombing and torpedoing us. One Japanese might have tried to crash into us when he was shot down, but he failed. Over the course of the war, they started doing that. Of the 8 U.S. Navy battleships present, all were damaged, 4 were sunk, but most were raised and returned to service. A total of 188 U.S. aircraft were destroyed in that attack. 2,403 Americans died, and 1,178 others wounded. Extreme left globalist socialist president Franklin D. Roosevelt, D for Democrat, called December 7th, 1941, a day which will live in infamy. Until that point, we were supposedly a neutral country in World War II. In peace talks with the Japanese declared war on the United States. Later that day / the next day, December 8th, Congress declared war on Japan. December 11th, Germany and Italy declared war on the United States. And then we declared war on them. What a mess. There were 291,557 American casualties of World War II. What a shame. Now we're at war with the plandemic, scamdemic. The Epoch Times reports a study finds asymptomatic spread is not a significant source of the CCP virus pandemic. The most recent study from China on the prevalence of infection after a lockdown found no transmission of the CCP virus among people who were in close contact with asymptomatic patients, contradicting the current narrative that asymptomatic transmission plays a major role in the pandemic. An asymptomatic carrier is someone who has not displayed symptoms after being infected but may spread the virus to others. This is different from someone who is pre-symptomatic, meaning the person doesn't feel or look sick yet, but eventually shows symptoms later and does transmit the virus during the pre-symptomatic phase. Dr. Simone Gold of America's Frontline Doctors says that it's been known for millennia that asymptomatic transmission has never been the primary cause of outbreaks. Other studies agree. Other studies found the prevalence of asymptomatic cases and asymptomatic transmission rates are lower than many highly publicized studies. One study suggested as high as 81% asymptomatic cases. The overall rate of asymptomatic cases was actually more like 17%, not 81%, and asymptomatic carriers were 42% less likely to spread the CCP virus compared to symptomatic individuals. One study followed patients for at least 7 days to distinguish asymptomatic cases from pre-symptomatic cases. Several highly publicized studies, like the Diamond Princess cruise ship, the Iceland study, and the homeless shelter in Boston, cited by many governments and public so-called health officials to justify some of their policies, those were excluded from the study for their lack of follow-up on the patients to determine if they were truly asymptomatic or pre-symptomatic. The CDC pushed for universal masks, claiming that 50% of virus transmissions come from asymptomatic and pre-symptomatic carriers. They did not differentiate. Very misleading, right? Reminds me of that lie that, legal and illegal immigrants account for less crime than citizens. Such a lie. Yet Democrat senators pushing for nationwide mask mandate. Ridiculous. I'm James Hake.